Welcome back to another episode of Untapped Confidence. This is episode 75, and in this podcast, we explore all things to do with building authentic confidence. If you found yourself here, it's possible you are a high achiever and you've already done quite a bit of work on yourself already, but you're seeing that you can still go deeper. Maybe you come across as pretty confident and self-assured to other people, but you know in yourself there's another level to reach. And you're possibly realizing that doing more is not the way. It's no longer the way. Especially as high achieving women, we want to learn how to slow down, get out of our heads, do less, actually be able to relax into the life that we have built for ourselves and truly feel that gratitude and peace and that warmth of being who we are and having the life that we have. And we know that doing more is not the answer to that. And that's also not to say that we have to put our drive and our ambition and our passion to the side. This is about how can we live harmoniously with that drive? How can we be productive and succeed and continue to move forward while also being deeply present and grounded? And that's what this podcast is all about. And this week's episode I actually planned this week's episode probably a month or so ago, more than a month ago. And now I finally get to record it. But it's just such a coincidence that this week I broke my toe. I broke my little toe. And I've never broken a bone in my body. And considering the things that I have gotten up to in my life, that's pretty surprising. And as anyone who is deep into personal development, of course, I need to turn it into something really deep and meaningful for myself. And to me, breaking my toe is the universe telling me, slow down. That's really been my goal this entire year, is to slow down, let go, do less, because I'm constantly on the go. I'm constantly striving for the next thing and recognizing, perhaps like you, that that's not the solution. That's not the way. That's not what's going to get me to the next level of myself that I want to achieve. That's not what's going to give me that inner peace and tranquility and sense of home inside myself that I'm wanting to cultivate more of. So I broke my toe, and it's a big, loud sign from the universe to slow down. And in this week's podcast episode, we are talking about how to transform self-care from something that feels like a chore into something that we really love doing. And why it's such a coincidence that I break my toe on the week that I want to record this episode is because self-care is the thing that helps me to slow down and feel like everything's okay. And it's always the first thing to go when I start to get a little bit stressed or overwhelmed, or when I start to get into that go, go, go mindset. So yes, what a coincidence. I hear you, universe. I'm listening loud and clear. And with that being said, let's get into this week's episode. Self-care. What is it really? Why does it feel like a chore? And how can we turn it into something that we really love doing? So it doesn't feel like such a chore. So it feels easy. So it feels like just a natural part of our day and our week and something that we love doing. I mean, who wouldn't love to feel more at home in themselves? Who wouldn't love to have more peace? Who wouldn't love to be able to better slow down? Who wouldn't love that when they're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, that they feel secure in themselves. They feel comforted. They feel like they're being taken care of. They feel like they're not alone. That you feel that despite what happens in life, that you've got you. Well, let me tell you, that's what self-care does for us. And so many of us feel like it's a chore. Like it's really hard to find the time to make sure we eat properly, to make sure we get to bed on time, to make sure we drink enough water, to allow ourselves to really, truly slow down. And in this episode, self-care isn't going to a spa day, isn't buying a sweet, it's not having a movie night, although those things are amazing. Self-care is the basic things. It's the bare minimum that we deserve. It's, like I said before, it's making sure we eat properly every day, even when we don't feel like we have the time. It's making sure we get to bed on time. It's making sure that we set ourselves up to have a good quality sleep. Not that we're scrolling on our phones just before we switch the light off. Not that we're working up until the last second that we want to go to bed. It's making sure that we get outside, go for a walk, move our bodies. And not necessarily doing a workout, just literally going for a walk is enough. And maybe that's all that you need sometimes. It's getting some sunlight. It's making sure that you connect with other people. And when I say connect with other people, I mean connect with the people that fill your cup. not with the people that you feel obligated to see or that you think that you should talk to, the kind of people that really recharge you, that make you feel well. And giving ourselves opportunities to be creative, to explore, to find something, to discover something new about ourselves. And it can just be the smallest thing. It can be going to a cafe we've never been to. It can be doodling in a notebook. It can be learning origami. It can be drawing patterns in the sand or the dirt. It can be collecting flowers for your home. Creativity just allows us to bring a feeling or a thought into existence. It doesn't have to be big or extravagant. This is all self-care. These are all things that allow us to thrive and feel well. They regulate our nervous system. They make us feel like we are worthy. They make us feel good. They make us feel cared for. They help us to decompress. They're soothing in times of stress. And they are also typically the first things to go when we start to get stressed and feel overwhelmed and feel like we don't have the time. When we feel like we can't slow down. They are the first things to go. And of course, we all know these things are good for us. We know that if we do them, we feel good. We know that it's important. We know it would be healthy. So then why do we struggle so much to stay consistent with self-care? Why do we struggle so much to implement self-care? And it's simply because we have grown up in a society that has taught us that our productivity and how useful we can be to other people determines our worth. How much we can produce, how useful we can be, what we can do for others determines how worthy we are. And so when we're not being productive, when we're not being useful, when we're not doing something for someone else, we feel like there's something missing. We get uncomfortable because if we're not doing, then we're not good enough. And we don't want people to. And so we got to keep it up. We got to keep going. We got to keep pushing and striving and doing more and giving more so that people can see that we're good enough, that we're worthy of their affection, of their love, of their connection. Because if we drop the ball, we'll lose them. We'll lose respect. People won't take us seriously. People won't want to be around us. And this all happens on a subconscious level. We're not thinking this consciously. But if we really struggle to slow down, if we feel a constant sense of urgency and like taking care of ourselves is a chore, making sure we eat properly is a chore, making sure we sleep properly, making sure we get out and move our bodies, if any kind of that basic self-care feels like a chore, it's because that's where it's coming. It's more important for us to be of use to another person than it is to take care of ourselves. And I just want to say, this doesn't mean that other people can't come first sometimes. It doesn't mean that what we're aiming for now is to never allow another person or thing to get in the way of our routine or get in the way of our self-care. Of course, sometimes we are going to sacrifice our self-care to care for another person. That's going to happen sometimes. But how often does it happen? If it's a regular thing, then we're abandoning ourselves. We're neglecting ourselves. And that's not healthy. That's not sustainable. And I want to share with you how you can start to shift your perspective on self-care so that you can start to feel good about it. So it doesn't feel like a chore anymore, that it feels like something you want to do and it's easier to fit into your day. Now, just a warning, this of course isn't going to change overnight. This is something that takes a bit of time to shift. There's still going to be discomfort, but this perspective shift allows us to connect to something more, something bigger, so that we feel the motivation, we see the value in pushing through the discomfort of prioritizing ourselves and giving ourselves that care. So I want to share with you a really powerful perspective shift. And then I want to share with you some questions to help you to reflect, to help you to really ground into this so that you can make this change a reality. Because in this podcast, I don't want to just talk a bunch of fluff and then give you nothing to actually implement these perspective shifts and changes into your life. This is very much about being real, getting tangible, making real change. And so these questions will help you to deepen into the perspective shift that you're going to have so that you can action it in your life in small, manageable ways so that in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, you really see a genuine change. You feel differently about yourself and about self-care. You can see changes in your behavior that you are truly treating yourself differently than you used to. Quick break. While we're on the topic of self-care, this is a huge part of the work that I do with my clients in Strength, my program that takes you from chronic skin picking to control and confidence. It is a space where you get to do the deeper work, where you get to connect deeper with yourself and create changes in your life that you know are important, but that maybe you're feeling a bit stuck or lost on how to move towards. Because for anyone who has been working on themselves for a while, they know that at some point, they need help to access that next level of them. They know that for where they're at right now, they've done everything they can and they're ready for something new. They're just waiting for the right thing to come along that speaks to their heart, that pulls at them, that feels right. I work with so many incredible, high-achieving, driven women who have done a lot of work on themselves, and they just continue to heal and grow and expand. And it is incredible to be in that space, to be connected to other people who are on a similar journey to you, who are wanting similar things and putting in the work to make it tangible in their life. So if you feel like you've done quite a bit of work on yourself already and you're ready to take it even deeper, and you want to connect to inspiring, like-minded people, and you want to find freedom from skin picking, but you know it takes the deeper work to do that, then come join us in Strength. It is a program designed specifically for doing the deeper work around healing from chronic skin picking. The deeper work like connecting to your authenticity, building genuine, real confidence, getting out of your head and more into your body, learning how to slow down, accessing more freedom within yourself so you can experience more of that in your life in a really tangible, down-to-earth way. This is what I do with my clients in Strength. And I also lived through 15 years of chronic skin picking, so I truly get it. And this program is built with that understanding that you won't find anywhere else. So if this is speaking to your heart, if you're feeling drawn to this, if you're feeling inspired, if this is sparking anything inside of you, come and apply to join us, because there is so much more to you than chronic skin picking. And there is so much more to your healing journey than just stopping. Go ahead and click on the link in the show notes to apply. I look forward to chatting to you soon. So I'm going to ask you now, just think about all these areas of self-care we've talked about so far and be really honest with yourself. The more honest you are, the more effective this is going to be. Where does self-care feel like a chore? Or where does it turn into feeling like a chore? Maybe you have periods of time or moments when you're really on top of it and it feels good. And then as the stress or the pressure or life kind of builds up, then those things start to feel like a chore and start to feel harder. Identify what things in your life feel that way. For me, the biggest thing is food. Making sure that I prepare wholesome meals for myself to eat throughout the week. That's generally the first thing to go when I am starting to feel like I don't have the time. And it's also the thing that makes me feel cared for. It makes me feel like things are okay and it makes me feel well. It's the thing that really helps me to snap out of that go, go, go mindset and come back to myself, is if I take the time to prepare food for myself, even if I don't feel like I have time. So just identify, where are you noticing that you are feeling like you don't have the time? I don't have the time to go for a walk outside. I don't have the time to eat properly. I don't have the time to prepare food for myself. I don't have the time to sit down and eat. I don't have the time to exercise. And again, exercise can be gentle exercise. It doesn't have to be something really intense. I don't have the time to go hang out with my friends. I don't have the time to do something creative. Now, when you've identified those things, I want you to imagine your child self, that you are in care of your child self. And the way you treat that child is the way you treat yourself when you feel like you don't have time, when you're feeling that sense of urgency. How do you feel about that? Does it seem fair? Does it seem okay? If you were to treat this child the way you treat yourself when you're stressed, is it possibly really understandable that that child wouldn't feel very good? That they might even engage in self-destructive behaviors, that they might act out? Because the thing is, that child would be dealing with neglect, not eating properly because you don't have the time. And imagine how that child feels, not eating properly because you don't have the time. The child's going to feel like it doesn't matter. If you lock that child in a room all day with no stimulation, and you expect them to just sit still, be quiet, and be happy, if you don't take that child out and go for a walk, if you don't give any kind of mental stimulation, no creativity, no fun, no connection, how's that child going to feel by the end of the day? They're going to feel terrible. Not eating properly, not getting to move their bodies, not getting to connect to anyone, not even you. And when that happens, many days in a row, maybe even months in a row, how do you think that child is going to be doing? And that child is you. So no wonder we end up scrolling on our phones to numb out. No wonder we end up binge watching Netflix, or chronically picking at our skin, or pulling out our hair, or drinking, or watching porn, or overeating. What else is that child supposed to do except find a way to cope? How is that child supposed to feel? They're going to feel worthless because they get very little direct attention from you. How often are you present with yourself? And I want to give you a moment to just sit with that feeling, that realization, and sit with that feeling, whatever is coming up for you. Because the truth is, we would never ever treat a child the way we treat ourselves. Because if we were to do that, we would see how wrong it is. Because it would be neglectful. Because it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be kind. It wouldn't be healthy. And we know, because we've done so much work on ourselves, we know this, we know it's going to have an impact on how they feel about themselves, on their self-esteem and their confidence. And imagine that child is having a rough time at school and they're also not really eating properly, they're not moving their bodies, they're not having connection with people, they're not getting close connection from you. Of course, they're not going to feel good. Of course, we're not going to feel good. If whenever we start to get a bit overwhelmed or stressed, or a lot overwhelmed and stressed, when we start to feel like we don't have time and then we stop prioritizing ourselves, that starts to be pushed to the side. And this exercise right now is not to blame you, to call you a bad person. It's to help you to realize, to truly feel how much you don't deserve to be treated that way, how much you do deserve to be taken care of, even when you feel like you're falling behind, or you're making mistakes, or you're not doing as well as you would like to, or when you don't have the time. Because a child would deserve that, regardless of whether they're doing well at school or not, or whether they made a mistake. A child would still deserve to be fed properly, to experience the love and affection of another person, to have connection with their friends, to move their bodies, to still have their basic needs met. You're exactly the same. It doesn't change for you. And yet we get frustrated at ourselves and we push ourselves harder and we get so harsh with ourselves because we're not performing at the level that we want to, because we're slowing down, because we're making mistakes, because we feel like we're not performing, we're not producing enough, we're not being useful enough. And we think if we can just do more, then we can slow down and relax, because then we'll feel like we're good enough, we've done enough, we're okay. But the thing is, that day never comes, does it? I lived so many years thinking that was the case, feeling like that was the truth. People go their entire lives living that way. So the next time you feel like you don't have time to eat properly, and you just have time to have some crackers and some cheese, and that's it. And the idea of actually putting in some effort into what you eat just feels annoying and frustrating, like a waste of time. Think of your child self. and how you would like to show up for them, how you would like to treat them. What would you do for them if they were feeling really stressed and overwhelmed? Would you just throw some crackers and cheese at them and push them on their way? Or would you like to just take some time to slow down just a little bit and show them some love by preparing some food with intention? We're not talking about an extravagant 3-course meal. We're talking about putting some intention and some care and some love behind it. The point of all this is self-care isn't about how can you do things better. How much more can you do? It's about showing yourself, teaching yourself that you are worth the effort. When you feel like you're worth the effort, self-care stops feeling like such a chore. Now, how to get there is through showing ourselves that that is the truth through our actions. Which means when we feel like we don't have time, like it's annoying, like it's a waste of time, we take the time anyway. This is what I do for myself when I'm starting to feel like I don't have time. I will intentionally set aside a morning or even a day to go out, buy food, and prepare myself food for the week. Because by taking that time, I'm showing myself that I am worthy. I'm showing myself that I am important and caring for myself. And actually, I wanted to mention this earlier, but I forgot. I'm really glad it's come back to me. I think I even shared this in a podcast recently, maybe a month ago or so. But that is, I had a really rough couple of weeks, maybe even a month. But it was a couple of weeks where I was just feeling kind of down in myself. I was struggling. There was just some stuff that I was shifting and working through. And things were just feeling harder than usual. Now, typically in the past, when I would get into this space, I would fall into not preparing myself food properly. I would kind of just throw stuff together, or I'd realize, oh, there's not really much in the house, or just have a yogurt, or I'll go out. I would just feel kind of frustrated and annoyed. Like if I just didn't have to eat, I'd have so much more time to get things done. Going for a walk, exercising, things like that, that would all start to go out the window. It would happen really sporadically. I would feel like I just don't have time to call people. I don't have time to connect with my friends. I got too much stuff to do. I really start to isolate and just push myself. And what I did differently this time around is that I made an intentional effort to prepare myself food, to go outside in the mornings and go for a walk. It's summer here, so I go for a walk barefoot. And I would make sure that I would made the time to see friends. And all of these things that I did, I felt like I didn't have the time. It was sometimes really frustrating and inconvenient, or it felt really frustrating and inconvenient and annoying. And I did it anyway. And you know the incredible thing that happened? Is that despite the fact that I was struggling with myself a bit, struggling with life a bit, I felt good in myself. I didn't feel great. I guess what I mean by felt good in myself is that I felt well. I wasn't great. I was still struggling. I was still a bit down, still a bit lost or feeling a bit stuck or frustrated, but I felt well in myself. I felt cared for. I felt comforted by myself. I felt soothed by myself because I was putting in the effort to do that basic self-care. Because I thought about how would I treat my child self if she were going through a rough patch. And that allowed me to access a lot more self-compassion and find the time to give myself those things, because of course I need it. Of course we can see if a child is going through a rough patch like that, they need those kinds of things. And they absolutely deserve those kinds of things. It doesn't matter what they're doing, they deserve it. Just like you deserve it as well. And so I realized that through all that, it was a rough time. I wasn't as productive as I would usually be. I wasn't getting stuff done. I was falling a bit behind. Although whatever that means, because I run my own business, so I set my own benchmarks and deadlines and expectations. So I felt like I was falling behind. And then there was just one evening where I decided I'm going to put some music on. I'm going to cook myself some food. I'm going to paint. I'm painting pots at the moment for my pot plants because I'm going to transplant them. That's my creative project at the moment. And I thought that's going to be my evening. And it was a gorgeous evening. And I found that I was dancing around, singing to the music, cooking myself food. And I felt, despite how difficult things have been, despite the fact that I hadn't been perfect, I really hadn't been perfect those past couple of weeks or few weeks, I felt so much love and gratitude for myself. And I realized the reason why I could have an evening like that, the reason why I felt that way is because of how I've been treating myself the past couple of weeks, because I've been caring for myself anyway. I've been showing myself respect and love and understanding and compassion despite the fact that I wasn't up to my usual standard. And that made me feel like I'm enough. It made me feel worthy. I didn't get lost in the heaviness or the struggles that I was having. They were still there, but I felt worthy, and that made all the difference. And I realized in that moment that I was giving myself the life that I wish I'd had as a child. That lightness, that space to just be human, to be imperfect, and to still be loved. That's what self-care is. That's what we're doing. That's what we're giving ourselves when we are making the time for it, even when we don't feel like we have the time. Now, I'd love to share with you some questions to reflect on. You can just think about them, or you can take some time to even write them down and journal. And this is going to really help to ground yourself. So if you're really committed to making this change, if you feel moved by this, if you feel like this spoke to a part of you, it sounds like this is possibly something that you need, and it will make a big difference in your life. So these questions that I want to share with you will help you to deepen into that so that it becomes easier to implement these changes into your life. So ask yourself now, what is self-care to me? Make your own definition. What did you take away from this episode? What stood out to you? Make your own definition of what does self-care mean to me right now. For myself right now, it means taking the time to prepare food for myself. I've said that so many times in this episode, but I feel like a lot of people are going to resonate with it. That's what self-care means to me. Of course, it means a lot of other things, but for me right now, that's what it means, because that's what makes me feel the most cared for, the most worthy, the most loved, the most grounded. It's what really helps me to slow down and calm down and snap out of that go, go, go mindset. So what is self-care to you right now? And what will it cost you to continue to self-neglect? Even just the thought of that makes my stomach drop. It's this really strong sinking feeling in my stomach. This feeling of being this feeling of I can't cope, I can't handle it, which is interesting that the idea of falling into self-neglect and not doing anything about it, just allowing it to continue, it feels like neglect. It doesn't feel good. It feels like I will just spiral into a space of struggle and hardship and constant overwhelm and constantly feeling like I'm not good enough. And that's really, really not a nice feeling. Even as I'm going through these questions with you, they're having their own impact on me. So really think about, what will it cost me if I continue to self-neglect? Now, ask yourself, what will I gain when I care for myself fully? If you were to show up for yourself and care for yourself fully, what would that change? How would you feel? And in 6 months' time, when you continue to show up for yourself and care for yourself fully, what will be different? How will you feel then? I know for myself, I will feel more capable, more expansive, more grounded in myself. I know I'll feel more at ease. I know that I will be even better able to slow down and get out of my head, that I will enjoy life more, that I'll feel more connected, that I will feel energized. I'll be feeling really good. So what about you? And now, how will this impact the other people in your life? How will this impact your children, your partner, your friends, family? How will this impact your work or your business? Or if you have clients, how will it impact your clients? What's the positive ripple effect that will happen? I know one thing for me is that when I take care of myself, I really show up in this podcast with some awesome energy. And I love it, and I feel awake, and I feel present, and my brain is clear and it's working, which is how I feel then with my clients. It's how I feel with my friends. It's a beautiful energy to give to other people. And I just want to say that we're never going to be perfect at self-care. There are going to be times where we slip. The point of this is not how perfect can I be at caring for myself, because that's going in the direction of I have to be perfect. It's like those weeks where I was not doing well, but I prioritized self-care. I still didn't care for myself perfectly. I had moments where I scrolled on my phone for hours in a day, which doesn't make me feel good. But how I cared for myself afterwards is what made the difference. Regardless, I still made sure I ate properly. I still made sure I had a really soothing evening ritual to calm my nervous system. I didn't treat myself like, well, now you don't deserve nice things because you weren't good enough. You weren't perfect. So this is absolutely not the point of how perfect can I take care of myself, because when I am perfect and I take care of myself perfectly, then everything will be okay and I can slow down. That's so not the goal of this. It's about how well can I care for myself? How well can I show up for myself, especially when I'm not perfect? That's what makes all the difference. And of course, emotion is what ultimately drives all our decisions. So really allow yourself to sit with what this episode brought up for you, how it made you feel, and allow that to connect you to this path that has possibly become clearer to you over the past half hour or so. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, leave a 5-star review or leave a written review. I love hearing your thoughts and your experiences. And by doing that, you are supporting what I do and making it possible for me to continue to put out episodes every single week. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Have a beautiful week wherever you are, and I will see you next Tuesday for the next episode of Untapped Confidence.